Hello everyone, and welcome back to When She Broke Us channel. Today, we have an incredible story, one that's dark, emotional, and shocking. It's a story about betrayal, humiliation, and the kind of heartbreak that leaves scars you can't see. We're sitting down with a man whose story will take you through a whirlwind of emotions, and I promise you, this is one you won't be able to look away from. From the first moment, through the betrayal, to the shocking aftermath, this is raw, unfiltered truth. So sit tight, make sure you're not alone for this one, and hear it straight from him. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us your name and a little about yourself, and then share your story with us?
I still remember the exact weight of my phone in my hand that Tuesday morning, heavier than usual, like it knew what was coming. The screen lit up with her name, and for a split second, my heart did that stupid thing it always did when I saw Sarah flash across the display. 3 years of being just friends hadn't fixed that particular problem. "Hey, can we talk?" Her voice sounded strange. Too careful. Like she was reading from a script she'd rehearsed in her bathroom mirror. I was standing in my apartment in Portland, coffee getting cold on the counter, rain tapping against the windows in that persistent Oregon way. "Yeah, of course. What's up?" The pause that followed was excruciating. I could hear her breathing, could almost see her biting her lower lip the way she always did when she was nervous. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen, okay?" That's when I knew. You know how they say you can feel an earthquake before it actually hits? That's what that moment was like. Marcus and I are together. Marcus, her best friend Marcus. The guy she'd sworn up and down was just a friend when we were dating. The guy whose apartment she'd go to for study sessions. The guy whose name came up in conversation so often I'd started keeping count. 37 times in 1 month. Not that I was obsessive about it or anything. "Oh," I said. "Because what else do you say when your ex-girlfriend confirms the suspicion that's been eating at you like acid for the past 3 years? I know the timing is weird," she continued, rushing now. Like if she talked fast enough it would hurt less. "But Jake, I need you to understand. Nothing happened while we were together. Promise. It's just, after we became friends, things evolved and—" "How long?" I cut her off. "What? How long have you two been together?" Another pause. Longer this time. 6 months. 6 months. I'd seen her 4 times in those 6 months. Coffee twice, drinks once. And that awkward birthday dinner where she'd spent half the time texting someone she'd claimed was her sister. Marcus had been there too, actually, at the birthday dinner, sitting right across from me, making jokes, clapping me on the shoulder like we were buddies. And I'd smiled like an idiot, bought him a beer, thanked him for taking care of Sarah when I couldn't be there. The memory made my coffee taste like copper. "Jake, you still there?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm here. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't know how. You're still one of my best friends, and I didn't want to lose that. I didn't want to hurt you. Didn't want to hurt me." That phrase, the one people use right after they've hurt you, like it's some kind of shield against the damage they've already done. "It's fine," I lied. "I'm happy for you guys." "Really?" The hope in her voice was almost offensive. "Really? You deserve to be happy, Sarah." We talked for a few more minutes, surface-level stuff, carefully avoiding the minefield of everything we weren't saying. When I hung up, I stood there in my kitchen, holding my cold coffee, watching the rain, and wondering when exactly I'd become the kind of person who lied so easily. Let me back up. Give you the full picture because this story doesn't start with that phone call. It starts 2 years earlier on a Wednesday in March, when Sarah walked into my Architecture 301 class at Portland State wearing a vintage Nirvana shirt and looking like she just rolled out of bed. She took the seat next to mine, borrowed a pencil she never returned, and somehow, by the end of that 90-minute lecture on sustainable design, I was gone. We dated for 18 months. 18 months that felt like the kind of relationship people write songs about. The good songs, not the sad ones. We had inside jokes and Sunday morning pancakes and a shared Netflix account that we never separated even after things ended. She fit into my life like a missing piece I hadn't known was missing. My friends loved her. My mom loved her. Hell, even my cat loved her, and Mr. Whiskers hated everyone. The breakup came out of nowhere. At least that's how it felt at the time. It was a Saturday in September, unseasonably warm, and we were supposed to go hiking at Silver Falls. Instead, Sarah showed up at my apartment with that look on her face, the one that telegraphs bad news from 50 yards away. "I think we should take a break," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Not break up. Take a break." As if relationships were Netflix subscriptions you could pause and resume at your convenience. "What? Why?" I'd asked, genuinely confused. We'd been fine. Better than fine. The night before we'd talked about maybe getting a place together after graduation. She gave me the standard speech, the one about personal growth and finding herself and how it wasn't about me, it was about her. The speech was so generic it could have been generated by an AI trained on breakup cliches. "But I want us to stay friends," she'd added quickly, grabbing my hand. "You're too important to me to just disappear from my life. Can we do that? Can we be friends?" I should have said no. Every cell in my body was screaming to say no, to have some dignity, to make a clean break. But instead, I looked at her, at the girl I'd spent 18 months falling in love with, and I said yes. Because the thought of her disappearing completely from my life felt worse than the thought of her staying in it as just a friend. So we became friends. Awkward, painful friends at first, then gradually easier friends, and finally, or so I thought, genuine friends. We texted regularly. We grabbed coffee. We complained about our respective jobs. Me at a small architectural firm downtown, her doing marketing for a tech startup. We even double-dated once, though that was a disaster for reasons I didn't fully understand at the time. And through it all, there was Marcus. Marcus Chun had been Sarah's friend since freshman year. Tall, athletic, one of those guys who's effortlessly charming in a way that makes you hate yourself for not being able to hate him. He was pre-med, volunteered at free clinics, played guitar in a band that actually didn't suck. Of course he did. "Marcus and I are grabbing lunch, wanna come?" She'd text. Marcus helped me move into my new apartment. Marcus thinks I should apply for that promotion. Marcus. I'd asked once, early in our relationship, if there was anything between them. "God, no," Sarah had laughed. "He's like my brother. Plus, he's still hung up on his ex from high school. Trust me, there's nothing there." And I'd believed her. Because that's what you do when you love someone, you believe them even when the evidence suggests you shouldn't. After the breakup, Marcus's presence in her life seemed to expand exponentially. He was at every group hangout. He was her +1 to events. They had a weekly tradition of watching bad horror movies together. When I'd mention it, casually, carefully, trying not to sound like a jealous ex, she'd brush it off. "He's my best friend, Jake. That's all." So I'd swallowed my suspicions and my pride and tried to be the mature, evolved ex-boyfriend who was totally cool with everything. Which brings us back to that Tuesday morning phone call. The one where she confirmed what I'd known, deep down, all along. The weeks after that conversation were strange. Sarah wanted everything to stay the same. Same group chats, same coffee dates, same friendship. Like she could announce she was dating the guy I'd spent our entire relationship being insecure about, and nothing would change. I tried. I really did. I showed up when invited. I smiled at the right moments. I asked polite questions about how things were going with Marcus. But something had shifted, in me, in us, in the careful architecture we'd built around our friendship. I started noticing things I'd trained myself not to notice. Like how her Instagram was suddenly full of couples photos, her and Marcus at brunch, her and Marcus at concerts, her and Marcus looking disgustingly happy. Like how she'd text me less frequently, and when she did, it felt obligatory. Like how Marcus had apparently moved into her apartment, despite her once telling me she'd never live with a boyfriend again, after a disastrous experience in sophomore year. 3 months after the phone call, I ran into them at Powell's Books. I was in the architecture section, looking for a specific reference book for a project, when I heard her laugh, that specific laugh she reserved for when she was genuinely delighted by something. I looked up, and there they were. Sarah was wearing one of Marcus's hoodies, oversized with a med school logo. He had his arm around her waist, was whispering something in her ear. She glowed in a way I couldn't remember her ever glowing with me. I left before they could see me, abandoning my book search, suddenly feeling like an intruder in my own life. That night, my roommate Tyler found me stress-eating Chinese takeout and watching Property Brothers reruns. "You gotta move on, man," he said, stealing a spring roll. "She's with someone else. You're torturing yourself with this friendship thing." "I'm fine," I insisted. "You're eating lo mein with a serving spoon and watching home renovation shows. You're the opposite of fine." He wasn't wrong. But what was I supposed to do? Cut her off completely? Admit that I'd spent 3 years pretending to be over her when I clearly wasn't? The answer came 6 months later, though not in any way I could have predicted. It was a Wednesday evening in April. I was working late at the office, trying to finish renderings for a client presentation, when my phone rang. Sarah's name. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't talked in nearly 3 weeks, our longest silence since the breakup. "Jake." Her voice was thick, like she'd been crying. I immediately sat up straighter. "Sarah? What's wrong? Can I come over? I know it's late, and we haven't talked much, but I need a friend." 20 minutes later, she was sitting on my couch, mascara streaked, clutching a tissue, looking more wrecked than I'd ever seen her. "He left," she said simply. "Marcus." She nodded, fresh tears spilling over. "He got accepted to a medical program in Boston. Full scholarship, incredible opportunity. He asked me to come with him. And I said I couldn't. My job is here, my life is here. I thought we could do long distance, but he said he didn't want that. He said if I wasn't willing to move with him, then we weren't as serious as he thought." She let out a bitter laugh. 3 days ago, he left. Didn't even say goodbye properly. Just left. I handed her another tissue, trying to process this information. "I'm sorry," I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. Seeing her hurt still hurt, even after everything. "That's not even the worst part," she continued, wiping her eyes. "You know that startup I was working for? It went under last month. They'd been hiding financial problems for a while. I'm unemployed, Jake. And the apartment, the one Marcus and I were renting together, I can't afford it on my own. The lease is up next month, and I don't have anywhere to go." The pieces started clicking together. The real reason for this visit. "My parents are being weird about it," she went on. "Dad's doing that disappointed thing where he doesn't say anything, just sighs a lot. Mom keeps sending me links to apartments in Salem, like she wants me to move back home. I'm 26 years old, Jake. I can't move back in with my parents." "What about other friends?" I asked carefully. "That's the thing." She looked down at her hands. "I realized I don't really have other friends. Not close ones. When Marcus and I got together, we kind of became our own world. And other people, I don't know. I pushed them away without meaning to. Even the friends from our group. I realized they were more your friends than mine. When I reached out to Emma yesterday, she was polite but distant. I think people took sides after we broke up, and I didn't even notice. She finally looked up at me, and there was something desperate in her eyes. Something that made my stomach clench. "Jake, I know I don't have any right to ask this. I know I hurt you, and I know things have been weird between us. But you're the only person I trust right now. The only real friend I have left." "Sarah, I was wrong," she blurted out. "About Marcus, about everything. I don't know what I thought. That the grass was greener or something stupid like that. But losing my job, losing him, losing everything, it made me realize what I gave up. Who I gave up." My heart started pounding. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I made a mistake. Breaking up with you was a mistake. These past 2 years have been a mistake." She reached for my hand. "I'm saying I want another chance. I want us to try again." This was the moment I'd fantasized about for 3 years. The moment where she realized what we'd had. Where she came back. Where we got our second chance at the relationship that should have been. But sitting there, looking at her tear-stained face, something felt wrong. Off-key, like a musical note played slightly flat. "You're unemployed and homeless," I said slowly. "And Marcus just left you. I know the timing looks bad. The timing doesn't just look bad, Sarah. You didn't call me when you were happy with Marcus. You didn't reach out when you got promoted at your job. You disappeared for weeks at a time. And now, right when everything falls apart, suddenly you realize you made a mistake. She pulled her hand back. It's not like that. Then what's it like? Explain it to me. I've been thinking about this for months, she insisted. Even when things were good with Marcus, I kept thinking about you, about us. I just didn't know how to. You've been thinking about me for months, but you moved your boyfriend into your apartment? You posted couple photos constantly? You stopped texting me back. The room fell silent except for the sound of rain starting up outside. Of course it was raining, this was Portland, and it seemed like every important moment of my life happened in the rain. Sarah's face hardened. So that's it? You're just going to throw everything we had away? Everything we had? Sarah, we've been broken up for 3 years. 3 years where you moved on, dated someone else, built a whole life that didn't include me. I was the one who stayed. I was the one who tried to be a good friend even when it killed me. And now you want me to rescue you because the life you chose didn't work out. That's not fair, she said, voice rising. You said you wanted to be friends. You said you were happy for me and Marcus. I lied. The words burst out of me. Of course I lied. I was in love with you, Sarah. I never stopped being in love with you. But I'm not going to be your backup plan. I'm not going to be the guy you settle for when everything else falls apart. She stood up, grabbing her purse. I can't believe this. I finally come to my senses, finally realize what I want, and you're going to punish me for it. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. You're being selfish. Maybe, I said, standing to face her. But you know what? I think I've earned the right to be selfish. I spent 3 years putting your feelings above mine. I smiled while you dated someone else. I pretended to be okay when I wasn't. So yeah, maybe I'm being selfish now. But I'm done being your emotional safety net. She stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. I thought you loved me. I do love you. That's why I'm saying no. It didn't make sense to her. I could see that in her face. But it made sense to me. For the first time in 3 years, something finally made sense. Fine, she said coldly, moving toward the door. I hope you don't regret this. Honestly, I don't think I will. She left, slamming the door behind her hard enough to rattle the frames on the wall. I stood there in the sudden silence of my apartment, shaking, feeling like I just survived something dangerous. My phone was still in my hand. I looked at it, at the string of messages Sarah and I had exchanged over the years, thousands of them. A whole history contained in pixels and blue bubbles. Then I did something I should have done 3 years ago. I blocked her number. The next few weeks were strange. I kept expecting to feel regret, to second-guess my decision, to wonder if I'd thrown away my last chance. But instead, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there until I put it down. Tyler noticed immediately. You seem different, he said one morning over coffee. Different how? I don't know. Less sad? Is that weird to say? Not weird, I replied. Accurate. I threw myself into work. I started going to the gym with Tyler. I went on a few dates, nothing serious, but it felt good to be open to possibilities again. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, including Emma, who apologized for being distant. Sarah called me crying. Emma admitted over drinks. Said you rejected her. She made it sound like you were being cruel. Did she mention why she wanted to get back together? I asked. Emma paused. She said she realized she made a mistake. Did she mention that Marcus left her? That she lost her job and her apartment? Oh, Emma's expression shifted. Oh shit. No, she left that part out. Funny how that works. 2 months after that night, I was having lunch at my favorite food cart pod downtown when I saw her. Sarah. She was with an older guy, mid-30s maybe, wearing an expensive suit. He had his hand on the small of her back as they walked. She was laughing at something he said, leaning into him in that familiar way. She saw me at the same moment I saw her. Our eyes met across the courtyard. I waited for the pang, the old familiar hurt, but all I felt was a mild curiosity about who the new guy was, and a quiet gratitude that it wasn't my problem anymore. I nodded at her, polite, distant. She nodded back. Then we both looked away and went on with our separate lives. That night, Tyler found me on the balcony, beer in hand, watching the city lights. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, and meant it. "I'm actually really good." Saw Sarah posted something cryptic on Instagram. Something about how some people never really know what they have until someone better comes along. I laughed. Of course she did. "You're not curious?" "About what?" "Her new relationship? Her attempt to rewrite history so she's not the bad guy." I took a sip of beer. "Nah, man. I'm done with all that." "When did you get so wise?" "When I realized that loving someone doesn't mean you have to keep hurting yourself for them." "Took me long enough." Tyler clinked his beer against mine. "To not being someone's backup plan." "To not being someone's backup plan," I echoed. 6 months later, I got an unexpected message on LinkedIn. "Marcus." The message was brief. "Hey man, I heard what happened. Just wanted to say I respect how you handled it." Sarah told me a very different version of events, but mutual friends filled me in on the truth. "You dodged a bullet. Hope you're doing well." I stared at that message for a while, trying to figure out how to feel about it. Then I realized I didn't need to feel anything about it. Marcus's opinion, Sarah's narrative, the whole complicated mess of what happened. None of it mattered anymore. I deleted the message without responding and went back to work on a design for a new community center. It was challenging, complex, required all my focus. Just the way I liked it. The truth I eventually understood was this. Sarah didn't want me back because she loved me. She wanted me back because I was safe, familiar, and convenient. When life got hard, she reached for the comfort she'd thrown away. Not because she valued it, but because she needed it. And I'd almost fallen for it. Almost convinced myself that her coming back was the happy ending I'd been waiting for. But happy endings aren't about getting what you think you want. They're about realizing you deserve better than being someone's consolation prize. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close a door you've been holding open for years. Sometimes loving someone means loving yourself enough to walk away. Sarah taught me that, though I doubt it was the lesson she meant to teach. A year after that night on my couch, I'm in a good place. Dating someone new, Melissa, an engineer I met at a sustainability conference. She's smart, funny, and here's the crazy part. She chose me first. Not as a backup plan, not as a safety net, but as a genuine first choice. It's a strange feeling, being someone's first choice. Turns out I like it. I still think about Sarah sometimes. Wonder how she's doing. Hope she found whatever she was looking for. But I don't miss her. Not anymore. What I miss is who I thought she was, which is a very different thing. Last week, I walked past Powell's Books. The same place I'd seen her and Marcus looking happy all those months ago. This time I went in. Found the architecture book I'd been looking for that day. Bought it, grabbed coffee, sat in the cafe reading while rain drummed against the windows. And I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. Not the forced peace of pretending everything was fine. Not the fragile peace of hoping she'd come back. But real, solid, unshakable peace. The kind that comes from finally choosing yourself. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "Still on for dinner tonight? I'm making that pasta you like." I smiled and typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." As I left the bookstore, walking into the cool Portland evening, I realized something. The story of Sarah and me wasn't a tragedy. It was a lesson. She taught me what I don't want, what I won't settle for, and most importantly, what I deserve. She wanted to stay friends, until she needed something more. She wanted me back, until she found something better. And I wanted to be chosen, truly chosen, which is why I had to let her go. Sometimes people come into your life to teach you what real love isn't. Sarah was that person for me. And in the end, by walking away, she taught me the most valuable lesson of all. That I was worth more than crumbs of affection from someone who only wanted me when it was convenient. I'm grateful for that lesson. But I'm even more grateful I learned it before it was too late. The rain picked up as I walked to my car, but I didn't mind. In Portland, you learn to dance with the rain, not run from it. You learn that some storms clear the air, make space for better weather. That's what Sarah was for me. A storm that cleared the air. And now the weather's looking pretty damn good.
Wow. That was an incredibly intense and emotional story. Thank you for trusting us and sharing such a personal and painful experience with such honesty. Your journey, from betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak, to reclaiming your life and dignity, is truly powerful, and I know it will resonate with many of our viewers who have faced similar struggles. To everyone watching, this story is a reminder of the strength we all have inside us, even in the darkest moments. If Michael's story moved you, made you think, or helped you reflect on your own life, I encourage you to leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your experiences, or simply your support, it all matters. And don't forget to subscribe to When She Broke Us for more raw, real, and unfiltered stories of betrayal, resilience, and personal growth. Every story here reminds us that even through pain, there's a way to reclaim our power and dignity. Thank you for watching, and remember, your strength is greater than any betrayal, and your voice deserves to be heard.